She said I abused her and everyone believed her. I'm Leah, and 10 years ago my younger sister destroyed my life with a lie. And a whisper from her jealous friend. Now the truth is out, but I've learned the hard way that not everyone wants to hear it. I don't know who I was before that day. I remember her laugh. I remember the way her sneakers squeaked on the kitchen tiles when she was 12 and still sweet. But the rest? It's like my life got wiped and replaced with a version of me no one wanted to know. My name is Leah. I'm 35 now. But most people around here remember me as that woman, the one who hurt her sister. Even after all these years, some still cross the street when they see me. Like it's contagious. Like guilt sticks to skin even after it's scrubbed clean by the truth. But truth doesn't matter much when your name gets burned into memory for the wrong reasons. Let me go back. Not to the start of my life, that part doesn't matter now. But to the start of the end. We were close, Alyssa and I. I was 10 when she was born and everyone joked I treated her more like a doll than a sibling. She had this weird baby laugh, like a hiccup, and when she was little, she'd always run to me instead of mom when she got scared. I used to braid her hair before school. I bought her first phone. She used to sneak into my room at night and ask me what high school would be like, or how to kiss a boy, or whether I thought mom loved us equally. I was there when she got her period. I held her after her first breakup. I bought her a stupid necklace from Claire's that said, sisters by chance, best friends by choice. She wore it for 3 years straight. I need you to know that before you hear the rest. Because if you only heard what came after, you'd think I was a monster. And maybe that's what hurts the most, how easy it was for everyone to forget that I loved her. That I raised her in so many ways. It happened when she was 15. I was 25, just starting my job at a local daycare center, dating this guy named Julian, and living with mom again to help out with bills after her surgery. Alyssa was quiet that year. More withdrawn. But I figured it was just teen stuff, moody friends, hormones, whatever. Then one Tuesday it was raining. I remember the way it pounded on the porch roof. 2 cops knocked on our door. They didn't say much. Just asked if they could come inside. Mom looked confused. I remember her offering them coffee. They refused. Then they said Alyssa had made a report at school. Said I was emotionally abusive. Controlling. That I would punish her when she didn't act like the perfect sister. I laughed. Actually laughed. Thought it was a mistake. But when I looked at Alyssa standing behind the officers, arms folded, face pale and blank. She didn't even blink. She didn't say a word. That silence split my world in two. I kept saying there had to be a misunderstanding. I begged to talk to her alone. They said no. Said the school counselor had escalated it. Said Alyssa had been living in fear. Said she described being manipulated, gaslit, told she wasn't allowed to make friends or leave the house. She said I'd threatened to lock her out in the cold once if she talked back. I couldn't breathe. Mom looked at me like I was some stranger who'd wandered in off the street. She didn't say anything either. That was the start of the unraveling. They didn't arrest me. Not that day. But they told me to leave the house until further investigation. So I packed a bag while Alyssa sat on the stairs, legs swinging like she was watching a movie. She wouldn't look at me. When I asked her why, she flinched. And that image, that fake flinch, would play in my head for the next 10 years like a looped recording. That night I slept in my car behind the Walmart. I remember crying so hard I threw up in the parking lot. I remember texting her. Just one line. Tell me the truth. Please. She never replied. There's this sound your life makes when it unravels. It's not dramatic. Not a crash or a scream or even glass breaking. It's quiet. Like a drawer closing in the next room, and you know you're not the one who opened it. That's what those weeks felt like. Quiet destruction. I lost my job at the daycare 4 days after Alyssa's report. No hearing. No explanation. Just a stiff email from the director saying, out of concern for the children, we've decided to suspend your role pending further notice. That further notice never came. I texted my boss. I left voicemails. Nothing. Even people who liked me, Jamie from the infant room, Hector from admin, stopped replying. Just vanished. Like I'd never existed there at all. I remember walking by the playground fence a week later, just hoping to see a familiar face. Some toddler waving. A parent nodding. But all I got was the security guard staring me down like I was a shadow that didn't belong. I turned around and walked home in shoes that suddenly felt too loud on the pavement. Mom barely spoke to me. She didn't kick me out, but she didn't ask me to stay either. Mostly she sat in the kitchen smoking menthols and muttering things under her breath I wasn't supposed to hear. She was always too possessive, No boundaries, too intense. She never let Alyssa breathe. As if I wasn't in the next room. As if I wasn't the one who'd helped her bathe for 2 weeks after the surgery she now seemed to forget. As if I hadn't spent every spare dollar covering Alyssa's tutoring and school trips. I started staying out late. Not partying, just walking. Gas stations. Parking lots. Parks. Nowhere felt safe, but nowhere felt dangerous either. It all blurred. Some nights I'd end up at the community library. They didn't kick me out. Didn't smile either. But they let me sit. Let me charge my phone. Let me disappear in silence. And then came the phone call. Not from the police. Not from a friend. From a blocked number. The voice was high, nasal, slow, in that way girls talk when they think every word is precious. "Hi, is this Leah?" I said yes. Long pause. Then, "I just thought you should know. Alyssa's not exactly telling the whole truth. But hey, I guess it's too late now, huh?" Click. That was it. I sat there staring at my phone like it might bleed. I called back. Blocked. I texted. No delivery. And then a name floated up from memory like rot rising from the bottom of a lake. Marin. Marin with the fake baby voice and the black lipstick. Marin who was always joking about me being overbearing. Marin who once said in front of Alyssa, "Wow, your sister's basically your second mom." Gross. Marin who never liked how close we were. Marin who wasn't just jealous, she was territorial. I scrolled Alyssa's socials. Most of it was private now. But I found Marin's page. Wide open. Pictures of them at the mall. Selfies with filters. Captions like, "She's finally free," and "Sisters by choice, not blood." The comments under one of them made my hands shake. "You're such a good influence on her. Glad she got out of that toxic house. Leah was always a psycho, lol." I don't know what snapped harder, my heart or the thread of logic in my brain. Because in that moment, it hit me. Alyssa didn't write this story alone. She had help. Someone whispering in her ear, fueling the distance, twisting things, rewriting our history line by line. And no one saw it. No one questioned it. They just saw Alyssa, fragile, frightened, blinking back tears, and me, the older sister with tired eyes and a locked bedroom door. And they chose their narrative. That night, I opened a note app and wrote this sentence. "Marin took my sister away and called it rescue." I sat staring at it for 20 minutes. Then I deleted it. Because no one would believe me anyway. I started counting silence in hours. 4 hours without a text. 9 without a call. 3 days without eye contact from mom. 2 weeks since I'd heard my name spoken aloud. Even the cat stopped sleeping in my room. I'd hear Alyssa's footsteps upstairs sometimes, her voice muffled behind her closed door, laughing, talking, music playing, and I'd sit in the laundry room just to not feel like a ghost. The house didn't feel like mine anymore. Or maybe it never was. The counselor from the school called. Not to ask how I was doing. Not to clarify anything. Just to let me know that they had decided Alyssa would be better off staying with a friend for a little while. A safe environment. That's what they called it. I asked who. The voice paused. Then said she's staying with Marin's family. Of course she is. I hung up. My job prospects dried up before they started. Word spreads fast in a small Colorado town. And when the words are unstable, controlling, and emotionally unsafe, no one wants to hear you resume. Even jobs at gas stations and diners stopped replying to my applications. I walked into one to follow up, and the manager looked me up and down like I was holding a live snake. "We're not hiring anymore." The sign still said "now hiring" in the window. I stopped trying after that. Started cleaning out the garage instead. It felt useful, something I could fix. Swept the corners. Organized boxes. Labeled bins. I found old things. Alyssa's kindergarten drawings. A shoebox full of birthday cards. A video from our trip to Estes Park, where she rode a horse named Murphy and screamed when a chipmunk ran over her foot. I sat on the cold cement floor watching it on a dusty DVD player. She was 9. Laughing so hard she couldn't breathe. She had her arms around me in the video. And I remember thinking, where did that girl go? Then one day, out of nowhere, someone knocked on our front door. It wasn't a cop. Not a caseworker. Just a woman in a windbreaker and sunglasses. At first I didn't recognize her. But then she pulled off the glasses and smiled. "Hey Leah. You probably don't remember me." I didn't. She introduced herself as Ms. Greer, Alyssa's 7th grade English teacher. I blinked confused. She said she was only in town for a few days visiting her sister. Said she'd seen me outside the pharmacy and wanted to check in. Check in? No one had used that tone with me in weeks. Not concern. Not pity. Just normalcy. She asked if she could come in. I said yes. She didn't ask about the case. Didn't mention the allegations. Just made herself tea and talked about how much she used to love having Alyssa in class. And then she said it. Casually. As if stating a weather report. You know, I never liked Marin. I froze. She sipped her tea. Something about that girl always felt off. The way she watched people. Like she was measuring how much damage she could do if she wanted. My throat went dry. I hadn't said Marin's name. Hadn't said anything really. Miss Greer set her cup down and folded her hands. Alyssa was different when she was around her. Withdrawn. Defensive. There was this one time she wrote an essay about someone in her life who made her feel special but scared. She never said who, but I remember the phrasing. Word for word. And I don't think it was about you. I swallowed hard. Then she added. I'm not saying this to stir anything up. Just. I didn't believe it when I heard. I still don't. You were always gentle. You looked tired but never angry. That was the first time someone said my name without fear in weeks. After she left, I cried in the shower for 40 minutes. Not because it fixed anything, but because for the first time since that awful Tuesday I felt seen. And that shouldn't have felt so rare. That night, I went digging. Back through emails. Old texts. Screenshots I hadn't wanted to look at. And there it was. A message from Marin. Dated 7 months before the accusation. It said, don't you ever feel like Leah wants to keep you all to herself? Like she doesn't want you to grow up? Another. You're the cool one now. Not her. Don't forget that. And one more. If you ever need a way out, just say the word. I hadn't seen them before because they weren't mine. They were on an old family iPad Alyssa used for homework. I'd backed up the storage ages ago and forgotten. But now it was starting to make sense. People talk about justice like it's a door you can knock on. But they never tell you that some doors are just painted onto brick walls. I didn't go to the police with the messages. I went to the school first. Thought maybe if they saw what I saw, how Marin had manipulated her, sowed fear and doubt like seeds, they'd reconsider. Maybe retract the report. Maybe at least look again. The counselor wasn't in, so they sent me to the assistant principal. I printed the screenshots. I came prepared. I had timestamps. Context. Even old school emails that showed Alyssa and Marin had been in constant contact, even during class hours. He sat there the whole time flipping through the pages like he was looking at a takeout menu. Then he said, this isn't conclusive. I asked what would be. He leaned back, gave me that politician voice people use when they're pretending to be kind. Even if this friend had some undue influence, it doesn't negate Alyssa's experience. I stared at him. Experience? You mean the lie? You mean the house I got kicked out of, the job I lost, the people who won't look at me? I tried to speak, but the words came out choked and half-formed. He tapped the papers, slid them back to me like they were napkins. We can't reopen a report based on this. I'm sorry. I wanted to scream. Instead, I nodded. Thanked him. Walked to the bathroom. Threw up in the sink. That was the first time I realized something dangerous. They don't want the truth. They want the version that's easiest to carry. And I'm heavy. After that, I stopped trying to explain myself. I deleted all my posts on Facebook. I changed my name on Venmo. Deactivated Instagram. Shut down the old Etsy shop I hadn't updated since 2019, just in case someone found a comment that said, "Thank you, Leah. Best service ever." Because that name didn't mean anything good anymore. I started journaling again. Not for therapy, just to remember I existed. Some days I only wrote one sentence. I didn't do it. Other days it was. She hugged me when her hamster died. She called me second mom. She used to steal my hoodies and spray my perfume on them when I left town for college. None of that just disappears. I needed proof. Not for them. For me. But the silence grew louder. Neighbors stopped waving. One of the grocery clerks I used to chat with now fake scanning kins just to avoid speaking. My friend Rachel, who had stood up for me at my last birthday party, made me laugh when I thought I'd forgotten how blocked me on everything. I found out because I tried to send her a meme. It bounced. No explanation. Just error, user not found. I cried over a TikTok that day. Not because it was sad, but because it showed a big sister helping her little sister with her makeup. And the younger one beamed up at her like she hung the moon. That used to be us. I used to hang the moon. Now I couldn't even walk past the makeup aisle without remembering how Alyssa once made me let her draw hearts on my face with eyeliner, just to see if I could pull it off. I kept the mirror selfie from that day in a hidden folder. Sometimes I looked at it just to prove to myself that girl existed. That we existed. One night I sat on the floor with the old family iPad again. Scrolled deeper. And there it was. A video. It must have been a selfie. Alyssa's hand holding the phone. Maren next to her on the bed. They were in Alyssa's room. I recognized the pink walls and the poster of Paramore behind them. Alyssa looked nervous. Maren was laughing. She said, "Just say it. Come on. You know you want to." Alyssa hesitated, then said too softly, "She's too much. She controls everything." Maren, "So what are you gonna do about it?" Alyssa shrugged, looked unsure. Then Maren leaned in and whispered something I couldn't quite hear. They both laughed. Alyssa repeated it. Maren clapped. End of video. That was the moment I stopped feeling sorry. Because now I had a decision. Stay broken, or get angry. The first message I sent was to Eli, Maren's ex-boyfriend. He'd always given me a weird feeling. Not bad weird. Just alert. Like he could read between lines other people ignored. He and Maren dated for less than 6 months back in high school, broke up the same semester she and Alyssa got inseparable. I remember the night he showed up on our porch, drenched from the rain, hoodie soaked, asking if Alyssa was okay. I told him yes, of course. He looked like he didn't believe me. He said, "Never mind," and left without waiting for an answer. Back then I didn't get it. Now I did. So I DM'd him. Simple message. "I need to ask you something about Maren. I think you always knew she was dangerous." He replied within 20 minutes. I knew it then. I didn't know how far she'd take it. We met the next day in the parking lot of a shuttered movie theater. He looked different, older, broader, shadows under his eyes. But he hugged me like we weren't strangers. Then he handed me a flash drive. I didn't even ask why. He just said, "She saved everything. Even the ugly parts. Especially the ugly parts." Turns out Maren was one of those girls who screenshot every text, every snap, every group chat. Control disguised as caution. After they broke up, he'd kept some of the files out of spite. Or maybe out of instinct. There were hundreds of images. Dozens with Alyssa's name. But one thread in particular stood out. A group chat titled The Coven. Maren, Alyssa, and 2 other girls. March 14th. Maren. "She yelled at you again?" Alyssa. "No, not really. She just kept asking where I was and if I'd done my chem homework." Maren. "Toxic. My mom used to do that to me. It's a form of control." Alyssa. "I don't know. I think she's just worried." Maren. "No. You need to get out. Want me to help?" Alyssa. "How?" Maren. "Leave that to me." I sat in my car, reading until my eyes blurred. None of it was an outright plot. Not a script. Not a plan to ruin my life. It was worse. It was drip-fed manipulation. Just enough suggestion. Just enough nudging. So that when the match lit, Alyssa could still pretend it wasn't her hand holding it. I brought the flash drive to my lawyer. Yes, I had a lawyer now. Not because I was suing anyone, I didn't have the money or energy for that. But because I wanted someone on my side with authority. Even just for documentation. Her name was Carmen Ortega, and she was blunt in the way that felt safe. After an hour of reading through the messages and watching the video clip, she leaned back and sighed. "You're not going to like what I'm about to say." I nodded, already bracing. This might clear your name in the eyes of logic. But not in the eyes of the town. I asked why. She shrugged, like the answer was obvious. Because you were already tried. Not in court, but in whispers post-PDA meetings, church pews. And the verdict was delivered before you even knew there was a case. But she gave me options. We could file a petition of exoneration with the district, even though there was no criminal charge, just to get a formal statement in writing that the school mishandled it. We could publish a personal statement online with the evidence attached. She warned me it would go viral, either with sympathy or renewed judgment. Or we could do nothing. Let the files sit. Let the truth just exist quietly, like a folded letter in a drawer. I didn't answer right away. Instead, I went home and stared at a photo of Alyssa I'd forgotten was still in the hallway. She was maybe 11 in it. Sunburned nose, missing a tooth. Her arm wrapped around my waist like I was gravity. And I realized I wasn't doing this to hurt her. I was doing it because she doesn't get to be the only one who speaks. That night, I uploaded the files to a private cloud, labeled everything, organized the folders, created a read-only link. Then I drafted a post. My name is Leah. 10 years ago, my little sister said things that changed my life forever. She had help. This is the proof. I don't want pity. I want clarity. Here's what really happened. I sat with it for 2 hours. Then I pressed post. The post went live at 11:32 p.m. By midnight it had 83 shares. By morning, over 6,000. I didn't sleep. I sat on the couch with a blanket over my legs and a mug of tea I never drank, refreshing the page like it was a lifeline, or a ticking bomb. The comments started gentle. I'm so sorry this happened to you. You're so strong for sharing. I always wondered if something felt off. But then came the others. Why bring this up now? Sounds like someone's still bitter. Maybe she wasn't perfect, but you're not innocent either. So what if the friend influenced her? You still hurt her, right? I stopped reading after that. Because nothing cuts deeper than being told your trauma is ugly in the wrong tone. The worst message came from someone I didn't know. A burner account. No profile photo. Just a username that looked like it was slapped together with keys stuck on a broken keyboard. It said, "Congrats. You just re-traumatized your little sister for internet points." I threw my phone across the room. It didn't break. I wish it had. Alyssa didn't reach out. No email. No call. No late-night apology typed in lowercase with too many ellipses. Just silence. But I knew she saw it. Her Instagram went private by noon. Marin's disappeared completely. Someone messaged me to say she deleted her Facebook too. Another sent screenshots of texts flying around the local high school group chats. Former students of mine, some of Alyssa's old classmates, now in college, piecing it together in real time. Wait, was that the daycare Leah? OMG, I remember her sister. She was always with that one girl. What was her name? Bro, this whole thing is wild. It was surreal. Like watching your own life on mute in someone else's hands. By day 3, I stopped checking the stats. By day 5, the local paper called. They wanted to highlight the complexity of familial allegations and online redemption arcs. I hung up before they could finish the pitch. Because this wasn't a redemption arc. This was wreckage. Public. Documented. With a hyperlink and a comment section. And then it happened. I was at the pharmacy picking up my mother's prescription. Yes, I was still doing that because she refused to switch to online and refused to speak to me and refused to stop needing me. When I saw her, Marin, hair tied up, big sunglasses, hoodie too big for her shoulders. At first I didn't recognize her. Then I saw the boots, the ones Alyssa used to beg to borrow in 9th grade, and something inside me just stood up. I didn't move. Just watched as she paid for gum and a bottled water like the world hadn't just swallowed itself because of her. As she turned to leave, our eyes met. She paused. And I said, calm, quiet, not even angry. "You didn't break me." She didn't reply. Didn't smirk. Didn't cry. Didn't flinch. She just blinked. And for a second, just one, I saw it. The flicker of fear. Not of me, but of being seen. Then she left. And I exhaled like I'd been holding my breath for 10 years. That night, my mother knocked on my door. First time in months. She didn't come in. Just stood there in the hallway, holding a cup of tea I knew she didn't expect me to drink. She said, "Alyssa's having a hard time." I stared at her. She continued. "She's not well. She's confused. People are saying things. She says you made her look like a liar." I didn't say anything. Because I wasn't going to argue with a woman who called truth a personal attack. But then she added, "You could have handled it privately." And something in me broke all over again. Not loud. Just cracked. I stepped forward, took the tea from her hands, and said softly, "So could she." Then I closed the door. It's strange how freedom doesn't come with a drumroll. No spotlight. No parade. Just quiet. The kind of quiet that doesn't ache anymore. It didn't happen overnight. There was no magical message from Alyssa. No full-blown apology in cursive handwriting. No public press release that said, "Sorry, we got it all wrong." But something shifted. And this time it wasn't me breaking. It was the weight of their version of me, slipping off. I started going out in the mornings again. Coffee shop. Same one that used to lower their blinds when I walked by. Now the barista says hi. Doesn't flinch. Just makes the same terrible chai latte and asks if I want oat milk instead. I say no. Some things don't need changing. People still stare. Of course they do. The post is still out there. The screenshots. The links. But now when someone recognizes me, their eyes don't always narrow. Sometimes they soften. One woman, older, kind eyes, approached me in the bakery aisle of the grocery store. She didn't ask questions. She just said, "I read everything. I believe you." And walked away. I stood there for 10 minutes, frozen between a bag of flour and a tray of cupcakes. I never got her name. But she saved something in me that day. Alyssa never responded to the post. But she saw it. I know she did. Someone forwarded me a screenshot from a private story she posted a week later. A black background. White text. Some people never heal. They just hurt louder. And under that, a crying emoji. Classic. That used to break me. Now it just doesn't. Because I finally understand something. She wanted to be seen as the one who survived me. But I'm the one who had to survive her. Mom still avoids direct conversation. She asks about groceries, bills, the weather, but never says, "I'm sorry I believed her." And I've accepted that she never will. Some people love the version of the story that makes them heroes. And rewriting it would mean rewriting who they think they are. That's too big an ask. So I let it go. I moved out 2 weeks ago. Found a small apartment 2 towns over. Nothing fancy. But the windows face east and I wake up to light every morning. I painted the kitchen myself. Bought second-hand mugs. Started a tiny herb garden on the fire escape. I even got a cat. Her name's Dina and she stares at me like she knows everything and forgives all of it. Sometimes I cry when she curls up on my chest. Not because I'm sad. Because it's the first time in years something wants to be near me without conditions. I framed one photo. It's from a disposable camera we used on a trip to Lake Pueblo when Alyssa was 13. She's standing knee-deep in the water, sunburned and grinning, throwing a peace sign toward the lens. And I'm behind her, blurry, laughing, trying to get her attention. I keep it on my bookshelf. Not as a shrine. Not to mourn what we lost. But to remind myself. It was real. The love. The laughter. The closeness. And just because something ends in silence doesn't mean it started in lies. The hardest part isn't what she said. It's that I loved her through it. It's that I would have protected her, even from herself. It's that I didn't even want revenge, just the truth. They still call me bitter. I still let them. Because bitterness is what kept me alive when sweetness got me destroyed. And honestly, I'm not bitter. I'm awake.